And sometimes they are already in your life, you just have to draw closer to them. You may wonder how to do that, especially if you feel broken inside. Start by reaching out to someone you trust. Ask them to meet you for a walk or a simple talk. You don't need to say everything at once. Just be present, be open. Let their voice remind you that you are not alone. You can also find energy through stories, letters, books, and songs written by people who overcame great trials. Their words carry strength, and their stories light the path ahead. Let me share a picture with you. Imagine a woman who has lost her business and feels like her world has ended. She stops meeting with others. She hides away thinking no one would understand. But one day, a friend invites her to a small gathering, a place where people share their struggles and hopes. She goes, unsure of what to expect. She listens. She hears a man speak about his failure, how he rebuilt his life with the help of others. She sees another woman smiling despite hardship. Slowly, she feels something rise inside her. It's not a full flame yet, but it's a spark. That spark is energy, and it came from being near people who carried light. Energy is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet strength. A steady voice, a kind word, a gentle push. But that quiet energy can move mountains inside you. It can wake you up when nothing else can. And once you have it, you can begin to share it with others too. So if life feels too heavy right now, don't carry it alone. Don't let your mind trick you into thinking no one cares or understands. Someone does. And their strength, their presence, their belief can help carry you through the darkest part of the road. Find the people who light a fire in your chest, who bring a calm strength into your life. Stay close to them, learn from them, walk with them. Because when your world feels like it's falling apart, the right people will help you remember that you are not finished, you are just beginning again. And together you will rise. 6. Focus on what you can control. There are moments in life when everything seems to fall apart. You try your best, but nothing goes right. Plans fail, people let you down, and no matter what you do, things keep slipping through your hands. In these moments, you may feel helpless. You may feel like life is spinning too fast and you are stuck watching it all from the side. It's a painful feeling, but there is something you can do, something that brings back your power. You can choose to focus only on what you can control. Many people waste their energy worrying about things they cannot change. They think about what others did wrong. They replay the past over and over, hoping to understand why it all happened. They fear what might come next. But none of these thoughts change the situation. They only steal your strength and fill your heart with worry. The truth is, there is only a small part of life that you truly have power over, and that is enough. You can't control the past. You can't always control other people. You can't always control the world around you, but you can control your attitude. You can control your actions. You can control your choices today. That is where your power lives. When everything feels uncertain, stop and ask yourself a simple question. What is one thing I can do today that is within my reach? Maybe it's cleaning your space, taking a short walk, cooking a good meal, or writing your thoughts on paper. These actions may seem small, but they are important. They give your mind order. They remind you that you are not powerless. Think about a young man who planned to start a new job, but the opportunity was taken away at the last minute. At first, he felt angry and lost. He spent days thinking about what could have been, but after some time, he realized he had to stop feeding the pain. He got up early the next day. He made a list of things he could still do. He worked on his skills, read books he had been putting off, and helped his neighbor with small tasks. Little by little, his energy returned. New ideas came. A few weeks later, a better opportunity appeared, one he was now ready for, because he had focused on what he could control. This is the quiet power of staying in your lane. When you focus on what is yours to manage, your life starts to feel lighter. You stop blaming and you start building. Even the smallest action becomes a step forward. Even a single good habit becomes a rope you can hold on to during the storm. It takes courage to let go of what you can't change. It takes strength to turn your back on fear and frustration and say, I will focus on my part. But this choice gives you something that stress and worry never will. It gives you peace. And with peace comes clear thinking. And with clear thinking comes better action. No matter how hard life gets, there is always something you can do. It may be small, it may be quiet, but it matters. You have more power than you think, not because you control the world, but because you can control how you meet it. Focus on what you can do and let the rest go. That's how you take the first step back to strength. That's how you begin again. 7. Reignite a forgotten passion. When life becomes heavy and nothing goes your way, it's easy to forget who you really are. You get so caught up in problems and disappointments that you begin to feel like a stranger to yourself. You forget the things that once made your eyes light up. You stop doing the things that used to bring you joy. But inside of you, that spark is still there. Even if it's quiet now, it hasn't gone out. In times like these, one of the best things you can do is to go back and find a forgotten passion and bring it back to life. A forgotten passion is something you once loved deeply. It might be something you did as a child or a young adult before life got in the way. It could be painting, building things, playing music, writing stories, planting a garden, or working with animals. You did it not for money, not for praise, but because it made you feel alive. Somewhere along the way, you may have let it go. Maybe people told you it wasn't practical. Maybe you got too busy. Maybe failure made you stop believing in it. But that doesn't mean it no longer belongs to you. When everything else seems to be falling apart, reconnecting with a lost passion can give you a new reason to wake up in the morning. It reminds you of who you are deep down, not just who the world expects you to be. Passion brings energy. It brings hope. It brings healing. You may wonder, how do you start again when you feel so far away from that version of yourself? The answer is, start small. You don't have to make a big change overnight. Just do one simple thing that connects you to that passion. If you used to paint, pick up a brush and put color on a page. If you used to write, take a piece of paper and let the words flow, even if they don't make sense at first. If you loved music, hum a tune. If you loved helping others, find one person to help today. The feeling may come slowly, but it will come. Let me share a story with you. Imagine a man who worked for years in a job that paid the bills but left him tired and empty. He once loved carving wood, but he gave it up because life became too busy. Then one day, he lost his job. At first, he felt like a failure. He didn't know what to do next, but one quiet afternoon, he found his old tools in a box in the shed. Without thinking, he sat down and began to carve again. His hands remembered, his heart remembered. He carved for hours, not for money, but because it brought peace to his soul. That small act began a new chapter in his life. It gave him hope again. Your passion doesn't have to be your job. It doesn't have to impress anyone. It just needs to be something that brings you back to yourself. When you do what you love, even for a short time, it changes the way you carry your burdens. It lifts the weight. It opens your heart. So when nothing goes right, don't just look around. Look within. Remember what once made you feel alive. It's not too late. That passion is waiting for you, just as you are waiting for something to believe in. Light that fire again, even if it's small. It will grow, and it may just lead you to the life you were meant to live. 8. Embrace the identity shift. There are times in life when everything changes. The work you used to do ends. The people you counted on leave. The dreams you once had no longer make sense. It can feel like you're standing in the middle of a broken world, wondering who you are and where you belong. In these moments, it's easy to feel lost, but what's really happening is this. You are being invited to grow into someone new. You are going through an identity shift. An identity shift means you are no longer the person you used to be. That may sound scary at first, but it's also full of hope. Every time life removes something from your hands, it gives you a chance to take hold of something better. You are not being punished, you are being prepared. The old version of you may have served its purpose, but now something deeper, stronger, and wiser is ready to be born. This shift begins with acceptance. Accept that some things are no longer meant for you. Accept that the path you were on may no longer lead to where you want to go. Accept that change, while painful, is a sign of growth. When you accept where you are, you can begin to build where you want to be. You may ask, how do I know who I am now? Start by asking yourself different questions. What do I value now? What do I want my life to feel like, not just look like? What kind of person do I want to become? These questions guide you to your new identity, not someone shaped by fear or failure, but someone shaped by courage, clarity, and truth. It helps to think of someone who has gone through a great change. Imagine a woman who has spent 20 years caring for her family. Her children have grown and moved away. Suddenly she feels empty and unsure of her purpose. But then she remembers how she used to love learning, how she dreamed of teaching others. Slowly she begins to study again. She takes small steps. She joins a group, learns something new, and shares it with others. In time, she becomes not just a mother, but also a teacher, a mentor, a guide. She didn't lose her old self. She grew into a greater version of herself. This is the gift of the identity shift. It allows you to become more of who you truly are. But you must be willing to let go of the old labels. You are not just a title. You are not just someone's friend or someone's worker. You are a living, growing soul, and you are allowed to change. During this process, be kind to yourself. Change is not easy. You may feel afraid, you may feel like starting over is too much. But remember this, you are not starting from nothing. You are starting from experience, you are starting with lessons learned, with wisdom earned, and with a heart that still beats with purpose. So when life shakes your foundation, don't hold on to what's falling. Let it fall. Stand on the new ground. Look at yourself with fresh eyes. Speak to yourself with respect. You are not broken. You are becoming. And the person you are becoming may just be the person you were always meant to be. Let the shift happen. Embrace it. Trust it. Because when you do, you will discover a strength inside you that cannot be taken, a voice that cannot be silenced, and a purpose that will carry you forward no matter what comes next. 9. Serve someone else. When everything in your life feels like it's falling apart, it's natural to turn inward. You think about what you've lost, what went wrong, and how unfair it all feels. The pain becomes loud and your world feels small. But there is a powerful way to break through that pain. When you feel stuck, lost, or broken, shift your focus. Look around you and find someone to serve. Serving someone else means giving your time, your kindness, or your help to another person. It doesn't need to be grand. It can be a small act, a kind word, a helping hand, or even just listening. What matters is the heart behind it. When you serve, you stop carrying only your own troubles. You begin to lift someone else's, and in doing so, something inside you begins to lift too. You might wonder, why should I help someone when I can barely help myself? The answer is simple. Helping others reminds you that you still have something to give. It shifts your thoughts from what you've lost to what you can still offer. And when you give from a place of struggle, your gift becomes even more powerful. Imagine a man who loses his job and feels defeated. He wakes up each day with no idea what to do next. One day, he notices his elderly neighbor struggling to carry groceries. He walks over and offers to help. The neighbor smiles and thanks him. The next day, he offers to mow the lawn. Slowly, a friendship grows. They talk, laugh, and share stories. The man begins to feel useful again. He hasn't found a new job yet, but he feels lighter. Why? Because he's no longer thinking only about what he's lost. He's found a way to give, and in that giving, he finds new strength. Service doesn't just help others, it heals you. It gives you a reason to get up and move forward. It helps you remember that life is not only about what you achieve, but also about who you lift along the way. When you make someone else's day better, even in a small way, your day gets better too. This does not mean you must forget your own problems. It simply means you don't have to carry them alone in silence. Serving someone else brings light into the dark corners of your life. It reminds you that even now, in your hardest season, you can still make a difference. You don't need a special skill. You don't need a perfect life. You just need a willing heart. Look for someone who's lonely, someone who's struggling, someone who needs a kind word. Offer your time, your ears, or your hands. You'll be surprised how much healing begins when you do. There is something beautiful about giving when you have little. It turns pain into purpose. It turns weakness into quiet strength. It shows you that you are not empty. You are overflowing with something real. So if your life feels broken, if your heart feels heavy, don't wait for everything to be perfect before you begin again. Step outside of your own pain for a moment and serve someone else. It might be the very thing that helps you find your way back to yourself. Your story is still being written. And sometimes the next chapter begins not when someone helps you, but when you choose to help someone else. In that choice, you find meaning. In that meaning, you find hope. And in that hope, you begin to rise. 10. Decide to begin again. There are times in life when you feel like everything is over. You try, you fall, you lose, you give your heart to something, and it doesn't work out. The weight of disappointment feels too heavy to carry. You start to believe that maybe your best days are behind you. But let me tell you something important. Your life isn't finished just because one part of it is. You still have something powerful left. You have the choice to begin again. Beginning again doesn't mean forgetting what happened. It doesn't mean pretending that the pain wasn't real. It means choosing to take a new step, even with the hurt still in your heart. It means saying to yourself, I will not stay down. I will not stay broken. You don't need the world's permission. You don't need perfect timing. What you need is the courage to decide. That decision changes everything. The moment you decide to begin again, the past loses its hold over you. You stop letting it speak louder than your future. You stop carrying what was, and you start reaching for what could be. No matter how many times you've been knocked down, you are allowed to rise again. You are allowed to start fresh. You might feel tired. You might feel unsure. That's okay. New beginnings rarely feel comfortable. They often feel quiet and small, but they are strong. A seed planted in silence still grows. A decision made in the dark can still bring light. Let me share a story. Picture a man who spent years building his own shop. He poured his time, his sweat, and his love into it. But the world changed, and the shop closed. He felt like a failure. He didn't know who he was without it. For weeks he stayed in bed, filled with regret. But one morning as the sun rose through the window, he sat up. He stood in front of a mirror and said, "This is not the end." That day he walked to a quiet place and wrote down a new idea. It was small, but it was a beginning, and that was enough. Months later, that small idea became a new path, and he found joy again. That's what happens when you decide to begin again. You give yourself a new story to live. You stop repeating the old chapter and start writing something new. You may still carry your wounds, but they become part of your strength. You stop hiding from your past and start using it as a foundation. Beginning again doesn't mean starting from nothing. You bring everything with you, your lessons, your strength, your wisdom. You are not behind. You are wiser now. You've seen hard days, and you've survived them. That experience gives you power. That power can shape your next step. So if you're standing in the ashes of something that once meant everything to you, don't just sit there and stare at the smoke. Rise, dust yourself off, speak life into yourself. Choose to move. Choose to believe that something good is still possible. Write a new dream. Start a new plan. Make a new promise to yourself. It doesn't matter if the road is long. It matters that you take the first step. And that step begins with one quiet, powerful decision. I will begin again. You don't need the perfect moment. You don't need to feel strong. You just need to begin. And when you do, life will begin again with you. The world hasn't given up on you, so don't give up on yourself. Start over, this time stronger, this time wiser, this time on your terms.